Okay, I want to talk about why I'm convinced that a mind map is good for you. You know, our knowledge about our brain actually started to grow about 50 years ago. Hold your horses for a moment. We are talking about 60 years of real research. That's really nothing. And that's exactly what we basically know about our brain. That is why it is still, for many, a huge labyrinth, and I'm one of them. But I do realize that by nature we are actually eager to learn. From a Darwin perspective point of view, it was our way of survival. Knowledge is power, is a sentence my parents always told me. The reality is that school is actually an environment, at least for most of us, where creativity wasn't really challenged. Quite the opposite. Actually, that was the case for me. I cannot blame the school system, as they didn't realize the power of creativity yet, as research had just begun. That was in the 1970s. They simply didn't know anything yet. Now we know a little more about our brain, but still many resist. Let's continue. At the same time, we are literally overwhelmed with the amount of info we have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's hard to keep track of all that knowledge combined with all the brilliant ideas we get while walking our way of life. The most valuable aspect of our life is actually the time we have left in our life. And time is getting scarcer every day we live. So why waste time with old-fashioned ways of dealing with avalanches of information? I'm sure that your way of recording information will be sufficient in your case. But did you ever question yourself? Is it really working for you? After all, you noted it as you wanted to recall that important information. But the fact is that you need to note in order to retain the trivial information. And I'll bet you simply forget it, as you know you have noted it somewhere. Let's face the facts with your system. How often do you pick up the old notes? I'm sure you're getting busy looking for the notes in order to find the information, use it, and then you completely forget about it again. And have you noticed that remembering the notes is actually difficult? The only thing I'm trying to say, the system I was using was effective, somewhat efficient, in its roots, not logical, and certainly not creative. I'm telling you that there is a system that will help you too in order to enhance your brain power and creativity. Hold your horses again, please. About 10 years ago, I noticed that I was getting hungry for information again. I wanted to challenge my brain again and obtain more knowledge. My conviction behind it, more power, of course. But that's another story. I started to dive into mind mapping and learned a lot about what we actually know about our brain. It still isn't really much. For example, we now tell the world that, can you imagine, we only use 1% of our brain, even less? I really doubt that, because I'm really not convinced about this information. But I do know that this man, Tony Buzan, knows a lot more about the way my brain performs at its best than I do. I better listen then. There is a good way to avoid these problems. It's very easy to master. It will not consume a lot of time in order to learn to apply it and to take the notes themselves. And one of the biggest advantages, it's a system that will enhance your creativity, and it's fun to do once you catch the drift of it. It's called mind mapping. Probably not a new word for you, but can you apply this knowledge already? I guess not. I hope this site will convince you to give it a try.